I don't even know if I can say this. I did get an unexpected call from CPS recently.
Oh no.
So the question was posed to me, do you love all of your kids the same? No, I don't. Do you still see Joe?
We do not.
How do you deal with arguments? Good morning, Keep It Crazy family. I hope each of you are having an amazing day. So Erin and I thought we would take a few minutes and answer some of the questions that you all have. Bella just got home.
Hi, Bella.
Hi guys.
Did you get your pictures back?
No, but she keeps on posting sneak peeks on her story.
I'm excited to see them. This girl reached out to Bella on Instagram and they're wanted to take pictures of her and her boyfriend together, and I'm so excited to see them. Okay, I feel like we just need to start with this one, and we have an answer because it's the number one question we get at every Q&A. Do you guys want to adopt more? Love you all. Thank you, FW Destiny. No, we don't.
I think we're done.
Tristan will be our last adoption. And I know I've said that before and you all are gonna be like, but I feel like, because I asked my mom that question one time, I was like, how did you know when you were done having kids? And she was like, I don't know, like there's no answer to that. You just know. And I feel like, I feel like I just know. Now that being said, I don't even know if I can say this. I did get an unexpected call from CPS recently.
Oh no.
It didn't end up going that direction, but they were thinking about, and it was one of our kids' bio sibling, thought about putting that child into foster care, and they did ask if we would take that child. We did say yes. I know I just said no. It wouldn't have been an adoption placement. It would have just been a foster placement at that point while things were getting figured out. So I do feel like we're open to fostering, but as far as adoption, I feel like, and we're not open to, our license isn't open to foster. Okay, anyways, we're gonna move on. I did not word that right. How do you deal with arguments?
Arguments with who? You, the kids?
I think you and I.
Other people.
I'm saying between you and I.
I will say, okay, so little backstory. Crystal, one of the stepfathers that she had was somewhat abusive.
Very abusive.
Very abusive, yeah. Okay, so for Crystal, it's always been a known thing that we're not going to yell, we're not going to scream.
That's a huge trigger for me.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I feel like whenever we have a disagreement, if we did any of that stuff, it's just immediately going to start off negative, and it's probably not going to get any better. So remaining calm.
I would say
sometimes if you need to step away, you have to vocalize, hey, I'm a little, wound up,
heated
or or I need some time to process my emotions. So you have to communicate that, because I've not done that very good recently, and I apologize.
I say we go through phases where we do really, really well, and then, it's constantly learning to communicate. Anyways,
I will say, well, and that's what it comes down to. A lot of it is communication, and we learned something when Crystal and I had a hard time in our marriage, and we went to some counseling and whatnot, and the number one thing that Crystal and I brought away from that counseling is you have to give the other person the benefit of the doubt. I think a lot of times when you're upset with somebody, it's really easy to not give them the benefit of the doubt that they have your best interests at heart, and that's
most
so
of the time,
crucial.
I would say most of the time, the other person isn't trying to be malicious,
right,
or they're not trying to hurt your feelings. And so stepping back and like, hey, that hurt my feelings. And then he's like, oh, that's not even how I meant that. I meant it like this. And usually it's a completely different way than how I took it. And so I feel like opening that communication is huge.
It's huge.
Yeah. Jenny Lynn, biggest regret in life and biggest joy / accomplishment. I feel like these go hand in hand for me. I would say my biggest regret in life, I feel like everything is a life lesson. So I don't know if I have anything Okay, I got it. This will come down to like parenting, actually. So I feel like my biggest regret, and something that I've realized over the years, or every kid goes through different phases in life, right? And there's times when a child just seems to be doing so well and thriving, and they're getting good grades in school, and they have friends, and they're laughing, and they're just doing so well. And you're like, oh, and you're just like so happy for them, because I mean, we all want for our kids to be so happy in life. And then you have a kid who's really struggling and maybe not getting the best grades and not making the best choices. And so in that case scenario, because we have so many kids, we will have several of that at the same time, like the good and, someone that's struggling. And so I always would put all my time and attention and everything into like the child who's struggling, because you're like, oh my gosh, they're struggling, like they need extra this, or they need one-on-one time, and they need this, and like you put so much time and effort and focus into that I feel like the kid who was doing really well and like good in school and everything, I was like, oh, they're good, they don't really need my attention right now. But that is so far from the truth. And I feel like that's one of my biggest regrets, is kind of like not figuring out earlier that situation, I guess. I mean, I figured it out years ago, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like, because then that kid that's doing so well is like, oh, am I not loved? They're not showing me as much attention, or, like, I'm doing really well, shouldn't I be getting more attention? And it's kind of that, like, figuring out that a kid always needs attention and love and time, and I don't know, that no matter where they're at in life, whether they're struggling or whether they're in a happy place.
For me, step outside myself and look at the situation from the other person's perspective and try to gain understanding of why or how or what they're thinking or doing.
So is that your biggest regret or your biggest
So my biggest
joy?
regret is that I didn't always do that. And so, for instance, my mom passed away a couple of years ago. She died from Parkinson's. And there was times when I was growing up, or times after Crystal and I got married, where we didn't always get along. We didn't always see eye to eye, and it was sometimes too easy to like, oh, well, it's her fault, she's doing this. But I didn't always look at it from her perspective. And so my biggest regret is, I think there was definitely some time that I missed having a relationship with my mom, because we were keeping her at an arm's distance because we were in a disagreement or something like that. And not just me missing time with her, but our kids, or such and such. So
Yeah, life's short.
Life's short.
Yeah, but my biggest joy and accomplishment is my children. I don't know, is their
Our family.
our family. Yeah, our family, their accomplishments, their love. Like, I don't know, they're my biggest joy.
I would agree with that.
What's the biggest hurdle you have learned with having such a large family? Oh my gosh. Okay, wait. I don't know if this is going to be like, if this is going to answer this question, but I got this question the other day, or like a similar one. And I was like, I have to like, because sometimes you don't know, like you just do stuff in life, right? And then when you're like asked about it, you have to like step back and like, okay, wait, like, how do I feel about that? And so sometimes I'll put notes down on like how I'm feeling about different things and whatnot. And so this one. So the question was posed to me, do you love all of your kids the same? And I was thought about that because it took me back for a second. I was like, of course you do. And then I thought about it and I was like, no, actually, like the surprising answer to that is like, no, I don't. And let me explain it further. And that's why I was writing it down, because I was like, okay, like I have to figure out how to say this and how I feel on the inside, and sometimes writing it down is like how you do that. So a lot of times when people hear we have 17 almost, so real quick, how many kids do we have? We have 17.
Tristan will be our 18th.
But Tristan will be our 18th, so we say we have 18, because we will have 18 as soon as Tristan's adoption is final. So 18 kids, and a lot of times they're like, or they think that because you have 18 that your love has to be divided 18 times, and that is so far from the truth. Like, you love and care and everything about each one. It's not divided. It's but at the same time, why I say it's different for each of them is because each of our kids have a different background, a different love language, a different way that they feel loved. and just everything with it, different needs with that. And so I would say each one of our kids, we even parent a little differently depending on that child. And so, real quick example, a couple of our kids don't really love physical touch. So I don't come into the room like, oh my gosh, and run over and hug them, because to them they would be like, like I don't really love physical touch. And I usually let those kids come to me, or if I can tell usually with body language if they're needing a hug or those kind of things. But then I have kids on the other side that thrive on physical touch, and I walk in a room and we'll hug them and love on them, and they love that. And then another example is a child that has gone through a lot of trauma and has gone through a lot of things. And so some of our other kids that we've had a long time, if they're, struggling or feeling dysregulated is what we call it in our house, I'll be like, hey, go to your room, calm down, figure out your feelings, then come back and let's talk about it. And they need that space and that time to like go to their space, their safety zone, and calm down and then come back and be able to express those feelings. But then we have other kids that have been through major trauma and were always like pushed aside and never shown how to work through feelings or never whatever. And that kid, I would never be like, oh, go to your room and calm down. It would be the complete opposite. Like, hey, come sit next to me on the couch. Let's just sit here until we feel better, And so it would be, we call it time in. So a lot of our kids need a time in versus time outs. And, I don't really like the term time in and time out, but you guys get what I'm saying. So every kid, I guess, is loved differently and in their way that makes them feel loved and cherished. And yeah, I don't know. Would you want to expand on that? I'm trying to think what else
I just love that you brought up love languages. And I think love languages is such a huge thing. There is a free test online, not a paid product placement, anything like that. There's a love language test online that basically tells you which of the 5 love languages you are. And what it tells you is that is how you feel loved the most. Like whether, somebody's doing acts of service for you or spending time with you or giving you words of affirmation. Knowing how somebody is loved or feels loved the most, and then working towards giving that type of love and focusing on that love language is so crucial, because you could be showing somebody all the love that you could ever imagine in all 4 of the other love languages, but right now they need that 5th love language. They may feel like you're not showing them any love at all when you are doing everything in your power to show them that. But it's just a miscommunication. It's you're showing them attention in the wrong way. And so for them, they're like, oh, they don't even care. But you do care. You care very much. You're just not showing it in the right way.
Yeah. And I would say, I think mom guilt is a real thing. Like, I'm constantly like, am I connecting enough with this child? Am I doing enough? Like, do they know that they're loved? And so I'm constantly like running that through in my mind. And so I think that's really why it's really important to know your child's love language. But also, if you're trying your best and you love your child and you're doing the best job you can possibly do, like, kids know that at the end of the day, and they know that they're loved. And I would say, let go of the mom guilt and just know that you are enough. As long as you love your child and you're trying to meet them on their level and in their love language and their way, that, that's the best we can do. And so with that though too, I would say take into heart how you feel too, because, okay, I'm going to call your dad out for a second. His dad shows love in the way that he feels love. And so he'll show up for, birthday presents and this and that. But I feel like a lot of times, at least over the years, I was like, yeah, but the quality time, because I really, thrive on quality time. But I was always like, your dad doesn't even care about us. But over the years, as I've learned love language, he does. And he loves us and would do anything for us. And we can reach out anytime and he would be the first one there for us. But it's a different way than how I see it, or how I feel loved. But I think he shows. So if your child is doing something like one of our kids is always drawing me pictures and bringing me pictures constantly, and it's the sweetest thing, and then I realized if I draw a picture back or I do something back, they're like, oh, they're like over the moon about it. And so I've had to figure out with each child and each individual thing on where, and it changes over the years. Like right now, Rylan is in his friend phase. He wants to go and hang out with friends every single day. So he doesn't want me constantly He's like, hey, you want to hang out? Let's do this. And he doesn't want that right now. And that's okay. It's okay. And he still knows he's loved, and his way is him doing his things that he needs to do and going and hanging out with friends. And that's just the phase we're in. So, sorry, that was a really long answer to that question. So biggest hurdle is figuring out each kid and how they feel loved. Opinions, advice, first steps to starting your own business. This is a really good one because we do have a business that we're launching super soon that we're so excited about. Like I really hope it helps so many people, and I hope that's the goal with that business. But I would say first steps is figuring out your why behind your business and figuring out what you want to accomplish with that business. I feel like, and maybe this isn't, I don't know, in the real world, but I feel like if you go into a business with, oh, I want to make money and I want to do this and that, like, I don't feel that business is going to thrive, because what is the why?
Yeah.
You know? So I figured, start with the why, figure out the name that you want to call it, and figure out a mission statement for your business.
I agree with that a lot. When I was younger, I did work in retail for a brief stint. I worked at Best Buy in their like electronics, gaming, and music department, and I was such a natural salesperson in that field because everything that I was selling is stuff that I used at home, and I believed in the product. And so I agree with you. And when starting a business, know what you want to provide. When you do, it's going to be easier for you to sell yourself. Or sell that product or sell that service. It's going to be easier for you to speak to that because you believe in it.
And then also start an LLC, start a business, and then slowly work up. And I think sometimes businesses can feel overwhelming because you're like, oh, I just want it like this. But know that every little failure and everything that you try and everything is all of those steps to creating a successful, great business.
I always hear this phrase, all the people that failed were probably right there at the doorstep of success, and they gave up just a moment too early. Mm-hmm. You know?
What's some advice you can give to someone who has a really low self-esteem? I love you guys. Aw, I'm really sorry that you're struggling with that. I actually had a low self-esteem growing up in high school. I would say even in junior high, I felt like I had a big nose. I felt like I wasn't pretty. I felt like, this, that. Like, I really feel like I damaged my own self-esteem a lot growing up. And it has taken me years and years to love myself and to love who I am. And I feel like the best way to overcome it is positive affirmations, and watch what you're telling yourself in your head. And whether it's whether you're passing by a mirror and you're like, ugh, did you pass by a mirror? And I still catch myself doing stuff like that. But I think it's really important. If I do that now, I've trained myself that I'm like, if I give myself a negative reaction, I'll be like, say 3 nice things about yourself. In this all in my head, obviously I'm not talking out loud. I could say it out loud, actually. Positive affirmations out loud is really good. But I'll say, you know what, I'm a really great mom, and you know what, I do this really well, and my hair looks really good today, or whatever. It's just 3 nice things about myself, and training your mind to see the positive. There's a book, and
I was just gonna.
Do you know the book?
No. I have
What's
a trick
the book name?
or a pop quiz for you. Give us 3 to 5 books that you're absolutely in love with that apply in this fashion.
Oh, what was the one? And I had you read it, and it make him. But
High
with the
Five
high five habits.
Yeah.
Read the
Mel
high
Robbins.
five habit. I think it's by Mel
I
Robbins.
think it was by Mel Robbins.
But a high five habit where you give yourself a high five in the mirror every day. All of those things work on creating that higher self-esteem and to feel good inside. And I think that's so important that we all get to a place where we feel good about and good in our own skin and who we are, and that we're all put here for a purpose, and there's a reason why you're here on this earth and why you're here with all of us. And so I would say that you are so loved, and if you don't feel that in your own life, know that you are, and that we are sending you love through the camera. We love you.
I love your light that you have. You have a light, you have a caring for other people, and you radiate that light, and I love that. And I think if we can all try to like brighten that light, work on that light, helping other people, I think you'll feel better inside yourself.
I love that. Is Aaron depressed?
Not currently.
I think he goes through phases.
I've had phases. You know, I will say, I think going to a naturopathic doctor and getting on vitamin D and B supplements has done wonders for me. I think I had some real issues with that, and I think not having the right vitamins, minerals, all that kind of stuff in your diet can definitely lead to, you know, having some issues. And I think it led to depression and this. I've had a lot of loss recently, and I think that was part of that as well. But
for me, having strict parents, do you mind how revealing the girls dress? Love you guys.
I absolutely hate it.
I hate it. I'm gonna be honest. Here's the thing.
I struggle. I struggle not saying something too.
I do think
Aspen, Joy, come here.
They're following Grandma. This is a hard one because there's one end. So my mom was really conservative growing up as far as like how I dressed, and she was like, you know, modest is hottest and all of those sayings, which is so true. Like that is how I grew up. And I will say that I stuck behind my mom's back and bought a bikini. She was so mad at me. That's probably the maddest I've ever seen my mom at me. She's in the background like, oh. She was so mad at me when she found that bikini. Or I would like want to wear tank tops or different things, but like growing up, you know, I was always taught, you know, take care of your body and that your body's precious and all of those. And so it's hard because I feel like I want our kids to feel comfortable in their own bodies, and I want them to be able to express themselves and know and love who they are and their body types, because each of them have a different body type. And so I don't know how to answer that.
Let me see if I can.
Okay.
Yes, it does bother me how revealing some of their clothing is. But on the flip side, a lot of it comes back to like the way Crystal and I like view religion and talk about religion and portray religion to those around us that we believe in, right? So when somebody's dressing and goes to pick a dress out, they're picking out what they feel comfortable in and what they think they're going to look the best in. While that may not be everything that I think of dress should be, they have to be comfortable in it. They're the ones going out into the world. They're the ones that are going to be interacting with people at a dance. They have to be comfortable themselves. They have to feel good about themselves so that they can handle the socials of that situation. So while yes, it bothers me to no end how they dress sometimes, at the end of the day, you kind of have to let them find their own way. If that's the dress they want, if that's the clothes that make them feel the most comfortable in their own skin and that they want to be around other people, I think that's a good thing, right? Because if somebody's not feeling good about themselves, if they're not comfortable with how they look, how they feel, whatnot, they're going to introvert. They're going to stay inside. They're not going to have friends. And then that can lead to depression. So you got to pick your battles, I feel.
And I feel like body positivity, that it's important that everyone can have their own style and own sense of self and feel confident and good in who they are and how they dress. Have you guys ever had different opinions on whether or not to adopt a child?
I'm trying to think.
I would say no to any of the kids that we ended up adopting. Like, I would say we were on the same page about every single adoption that we have actually gone through with. There has been a couple that we were fostering a child and it was going towards adoption, and we had a different of an opinion on that. And I think at the end of the day, in those situations, we just felt like maybe it wasn't the right situation if we both weren't on the same page about it.
I agree.
And we found the one that I'm thinking of in particular, but we ended up finding him the most amazing home that fit his needs and his everything that he could ever want. And I felt so good when we found, that adoption placement for him.
100%.
So, when is Tristan's adoption? We get that one a lot. And we have the same answer. We're working on it.
We've submitted paperwork. We're waiting for a court date. That's what it comes down to.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
What's your favorite seasoning to use? Sending love to your family from Italy. I want to visit Italy so bad.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do. It's like right there. Like I was looking at flights the other day.
Really? What about Italy do you want to see? Like, is there something that...
Oh my gosh, I've heard the food is absolutely amazing. So I'd be so excited to try all the food, which is so why seasoning is a great question with that. Okay, what seasoning is your go-to?
So Kinder's makes I think it's a Japanese seasoning. I'm trying to remember what the name on it is. But it's like soy, ginger, and whatnot. It's an Asian seasoning, and I absolutely love it. Anytime I cook like rice and have a protein with it, I'll normally sprinkle some of that on the rice. And no other sauces or anything needed. Just love it.
How do you make time for yourselves with so many kids? So this one's a difficult one. I'm not gonna lie.
This one takes teamwork, right?
So true. I will say, kind of along those lines, in even just moving houses, the difference that it's made in, I guess, bonding our family more, or our family coming together more. I don't know. We'll do a whole other video talking about all of that. But
it is interesting how the layout and the size of our house has changed the closeness of our house.
It changes the dynamic, which
lot.
is crazy, because you wouldn't think a house, whatever house you were in, that would change the family dynamic. But I do feel that it's brought us all closer.
Absolutely.
Along those lines, I feel like the kids are so happy. I feel like we're just in such a good spot, and they all have friends at school that they love and want to go hang out with and love to do things with. And our neighborhood, they can ride their bikes and do different things. And it's just I don't know the difference that it's made, but I will say, with them wanting to hang out with friends and them being outdoors more and all of this, it has created some more time for Aaron and I to have kind of our time, And so, yeah, the other day they were all at Friday nights. Usually they all want to hang out with friends and do their things, and so Aaron and I, get time to do what we want to do. 2 more questions. What other languages would you speak if you didn't know English?
I secretly wish that I was fluent in 20 different languages.
Really?
I absolutely. In fact, so Crystal's done a couple of surrogacy pregnancies, and one of the couples was Chinese, and I started learning Mandarin Chinese. I wish I would have continued. I got really busy around that time with her having the baby and this, that, and the other, that I kind of let it fall by the wayside. But I really wish I would have continued that. I wish, I learned Spanish in high school. I wish I would have stuck with that more. I remember, your common sayings, ¿Dónde está biblioteca? Stuff like that. I remember a lot of stuff, but I wish I was more fluent with it. Especially where we live, there are a lot of Spanish speakers around where we're at.
Yeah.
But I would love to travel the world, and I would love to be able to communicate and, soak in culture and hear about different foods and this, that, and the other stories.
Yeah, I would say Italian would be amazing. Mandarin, Spanish. If you wouldn't have done adoption and foster care, what other passions would you have followed? I still feel like we would have been in the field to helping kids in some way. I feel like it's always been, at least my passion in it, is to help other people. And I do feel like even if I didn't foster and adopt, I would have somehow been in the field to help foster kids.
I absolutely agree with that.
This is a funny one, and only because actually the kids brought it up to me the other day. But how has your parenting together changed since you first became parents? It's actually funny because if you ask Hallie how has our parenting changed over the years, she would say we were much stricter parents when she was younger compared to now. She thinks we're more relaxed. I mean, we still have boundaries and rules and everything, but back then, Max actually said this the other day that he got in trouble for saying the word crap. And I don't remember that. I don't remember him getting in trouble for that. Or I banned them from watching SpongeBob for a little bit because there was an episode that he said, like, I'm gonna kick your butt or something in it. And Hallie walked around saying that for a while. And I was like, you're done. SpongeBob's done with. And so, I don't know. But I feel like we've learned and grown so much as parents and so much into figuring out the kids' needs and what they thrive in and how they grow. And so I feel like, I don't know, I feel like we listen to our kids more now than we did back then.
I would say that's true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we take how they feel into consideration and into teaching them and growing with them and having them use the logical, parts of their brain where they understand why they're in trouble and what that looks like if they do get, I don't know if that made sense or not. What is the status of your tiny homes? They get delivered in a couple days. I'm so excited. That's just on us. I'm
coming for that. We got a lot of things to get done.
There's so many good questions. We could go on and on.
Maybe we'll
honestly,
film a part 2.
maybe there needs to be a part 2 because there's a few in here that I'm like, I would like to actually address that or talk about that. But we're going to leave with one last question that we get all the time, and that is, do you still see Joe?
We do not. So unfortunately, Joe and I's friendship has parted ways. So everybody asking, will we ever see Joe? I can't say yes or no at this point.
Yeah, we do love Joe and we hope nothing but the best for him.
Absolutely.
But as of right now, we don't feel that having each other in each other's lives is a good thing. So, All right. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you all next time.
Love
Bye.
you guys. Bye.
We're pushing the limits, running till we're going blind. I'm fully in it, I bet this one all my life. So